Bonner again. In a recent video, I was talking about how we are going to move our playing from looking at our hands, which all beginners do, to being able to either look at the audience or look at the sheet of lyrics so that we can sing our song, whatever it is that we want to do. Now, when we're singing, we also want to get our eyes off the page eventually. But in order to be able to learn the song, you have to be able to look at the music first and then learn it well enough that you don't need to look at the sheets. In order to do that, we have to get our eyes off the guitar. And what I talked about in that recent video was how we need to begin to change our mindset and get our focus into the physical experience of playing the guitar as opposed to observing where our hands are. There's a number of reasons. The first reason is that when we're processing visual information, we're processing millions of bytes of information every second. When we're processing visual information, right? Ask any computer scientist, they're going to tell you visual processing is the most processor intensive kind of work, and it's processor intensive for your brain, just like it is for a silicon computer. Now, tactile movement is much, much simpler. We're simply executing a small sequence of very simple steps, and we're executing them very precisely. So how do we train ourselves to change that mindset? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Today I'm going to talk about that in the context of chord changes. We use the exact same principles when we're learning lead riffs or lead solos or any kind of melodic part on the guitar. And I'm going to do a second video where I deal with that in detail. I can show you how to apply these principles in detail on lead. For today, we're just going to start off with a very simple example, and we're going to talk about what do we do when we're learning to play chords. So first, I want to talk about my method for changing chords. I use something called chord choreography. Okay, so chord choreography is this idea. There's 5 basic chord shapes: C, A, G, E, D. Every time we're changing chords from one of those shapes or proto-shapes to another one of them. So mathematically, that means there's only 25 chord changes. Since we can only change from one chord to one more chord, 5 squared is 25. Okay? So we have to learn 25 chord changes. The way to learn 25 chord changes is simply learn the chord changes in the song that you're learning. When you're learning a song and it has 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 chords in it, now you're learning how to change in between those 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 chords, okay? And so you're learning 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 chord changes in every song. At that rate, it does not take very long to learn all the chord changes that there are. There are way fewer than you think there are. How do we learn the chord changes? Okay, well, what we do is, again, we come back to this idea of chord choreography. So what we do is we treat our hand like it's a little robot, okay? And I'm going to come into a close-up and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing when I'm changing chords. How do we do this chord choreography business? Okay, there's a couple of steps. The first step has to do with hand position on the guitar. So I recommend using this crocodile grip on the guitar. So that means your hand is kind of like a crocodile, your thumb straight behind the neck, and we have 1 finger per fret assigned. Now we're going to move and vary from that, but that's kind of our resting position of our left hand. That's how we want to conceptualize our left hand. There are a whole bunch of reasons for that have to do with being able to easily reach notes, but it also has to do with knowing where our fingers are all the time and beginning to gain more precise and repeatable control over where our fingers are and how we're going to move them. So as a concept, just put your fingers on the guitar like this before you start playing any chords. If I'm playing a chord that's in that first 3 or 4 fret zone, I want to put my fingers on the guitar like this, just as a starting point. And now I kind of have an idea that all the notes on the first fret are going to be under the pointer. Under all the notes on the second fret are going to be under the middle. All the notes on the third fret are going to be under the ring, and all the notes on the fourth fret are going to be under the pinky. This is a basic concept that we want to put into our learning. We want to start every time we're learning a new chord change just by putting your hand, and you can use the same principle if you're learning a chord change that's happening at the third fret. Anchor your pointer on the third fret and you're going 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you know where all your fingers are. You know which fret each finger is over. We're trying to reduce thinking time We want to instill knowledge instead of thinking and figuring out. Okay, so let's go to our chord. We have two chords that start Barely Breathing by Duncan Sheik. We're starting on E minor 7, and we're going to go to A7. Okay, I have a standard method that I use when I'm moving in between two chords, the chord choreography method. So the first thing I need to know is, where are my fingers right now? If I'm on the E minor 7, my pointer is on the 2nd fret of the A string, middle finger's on the 2nd fret of the D string, and I'm going to use, for me, I like to use the pinky for that extended note down on the B string on the 3rd fret. And for that matter, I like to know that my bass note that I'm plucking at the beginning of this strum is the open E string. Okay, now from here, I need to know, where am I going to? So I'm going to this A7 chord, and I'm going down here to pointer on the D string on the 2nd fret and middle finger on the B string on the 2nd fret. And my notes that I'm including are the 4 highest strings. I'm not playing the low E string, but I'm playing everything else. It sounds like I'm oversimplifying. Believe me, you do want this oversimplification. You want to talk yourself through this step-by-step process, because what happens is it results in very, very rapid acquisition of chord changes, whether they are complex or simple, whether they are small movements or large. This method simplifies them all to the same lowest common denominator. Okay, so now I'm back on my E minor 7. Here's my E minor 7. So then what I have to do is I have to decide, are there any fingers that can stay in the same location they are in between these two chords? In this particular case, there are no reused fingers, okay? In other words, if I'm switching from an E minor to a C, then my middle finger can stay in the same place. But in an E minor 7 to an A7, no fingers stay in the same place, okay? So, or at least the way I'm playing this. So I'm on my E minor 7, okay? And I know exactly where my fingers are. Now, and now I'm going to figure out a step-by-step motion to move to the A7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift off pinky first. I'm going to lift off middle finger. I'm going to drag my pointer, barely lift it off the string, and move it onto the D string. And then I'm going to put my middle finger down on the B string, right, which is right under it. And then I'm going to press down, and now I'm on A7. And now to learn this step and lock it in, if these were new chord changes for me, I would do the same thing in reverse. So I would lift up my middle finger, I'd bump my pointer back onto the A string, press down with the middle finger on the D, and then pinky on the B. And now I've gone backwards through the same steps. And we want to go step by step, back and forth between these two chord changes. So I'm on E minor 7, lift the pinky off, lift the middle off, bump the pointer down, and put the middle finger down on the B string, and now strum. I want to do this enough times that I can move back and forth between the two comfortably. Now, the step 2 of this, how I take advantage of this, is I ask myself as I go, okay, I'm on E minor 7. Where are my fingers? 2nd fret of A, 2nd fret of D, 3rd fret of B. That's where my fingers are. Now, without looking at my fingers or looking at any notes, just by where my fingers are, just by knowing the shape of this chord and having examined which fingers are doing which job, I know exactly which strings and frets I'm holding down. Okay, and then I go to the next chord, and as I'm moving, I go, okay, pinky's coming off, middle's coming off. Where is the pointer moving to? It is moving to the 2nd fret on the D string. And where is the middle finger moving to? 2nd fret on the B string. Is there any other note I need to be aware of? Yes, I want to make sure I'm ringing the open G string and open high E. Okay, so now I have more information, and it's location-specific information. Because I'm paying attention to the specific location that each finger is touching, I'm building up a physical awareness. When I hold down an A7, I know this one's on D, this one's on B. I'm on the 2nd fret. I know that because I have stepped myself through what notes am I holding down in these chords? Now let's go to the advanced level, the bonus round. Okay, so now I'm at the bonus round. I'm on E minor 7. I know what frets and strings I'm on. What notes are they? If you don't already know all the notes on your neck, this is a fantastic way to learn them. And you can send me an email, bonner.harris@gmail.com, and I will send you a notes on the neck chart that will help you to be able to find notes on the neck that you don't already know. But this is a great way to learn them. Learn them as you're putting your chord motions together. So I'm here on E minor 7. I know I'm on the 2nd fret of A, 2nd fret of D, 3rd fret of B string. Now, what notes are those? 2nd fret of A is the note B, 2nd fret of D is the note E, and the 3rd fret of B is the note D. So I'm holding down B, E, and D. Okay, so now I not only know what locations my fingers are touching, I know what notes are created there. And if you want one of my, I have a chord worksheet that allows you to document all your chord positions and write in the note names. So if you want that as a worksheet that you can play with on your own and keep track of your chord voicings, I strongly recommend using my chord worksheet because it uses large, easy to see diagrams. It allows you to visually reinforce on the music stand in front of you the shapes and the structures and even the notes of the chords that you're working on so that you can actually synthesize this information very easily, very naturally, without having to memorize anything. Okay, so that's our basic concept of how we can learn to keep track of where our fingers are as we're building each chord. If we go through this slight slowing down and zooming in on the motion that we are using to move in between chords, we very, very quickly develop a very heightened and precise awareness of where our fingers are. And if we have a heightened and precise awareness of where our fingers are, then it makes it super, super easy to change chords basically by touch, and you don't have to look at your hand at all. So that's the basis of chord choreography and how we use chord choreography as a learning environment to begin to develop the tactile skill of actually knowing where our hands are without having to look at the neck at all. Now, of course, when we're first getting started, we do have to look at the neck a lot. But what we're trying to do while we're learning chord changes is we're trying to focus on these physical motions. And the more we focus on the physical motions, then the more we know where our hand is right now and how it's going to get to its next location. And that streamlines our chord changing, and it gets our eyes off of there and gets them back up here, which is where we want them. My name is Bonner. If you want to see some more videos that explain how to achieve these same quantum movements forward in your learning, come on back. I got a couple of videos just poking up right here, and I'll see you again soon.